good one. That's what we're looking for. That is what we were looking for. So hey everyone, here we are. It is getting toward the end of May, and this is probably, in my opinion, one of the most typical springs we have had in a long time. And we're definitely in that post-spawn period. We're in that period where you're going to start seeing brim beds. You're going to start seeing shad spawning like we're seeing right here. And the biggest thing about it is, to me, post-spawn can be probably the biggest hodgepodge time of year that you can deal with. I mean, you know, I've got a swim jig tied on, I've got a flipping bait tied on, I've got a little john tied on to, you know, fish the shad spawn. It's one of those times of year that you've really got to kind of junk it up. And we're going to have an opportunity today to throw a lot of different Falcon rods, fish a lot of different baits, and we're going to see what we can make happen. That's what we've been trying to get around. Is that the wrong kind? Dadgummit. Felt right for a minute. Then I got that toss and tumble. That's the other thing that's just blown my mind about this lake, is how full of drum it seems to be these days. And white bass. And white bass. I mean, the biggest thing that you got to be careful of this time of year is not getting caught not covering water early. And as long as those shad are, you know, either up on the bank really spawning, and it takes them a while to really pull way back off. A lot of times they'll just pull off the same banks that they were spawning on and just get out there a little bit and kind of stay in the same area. So generally, if you cover enough water and you get around shad spawning, or you get around brim bedding this time of year in the post-spawn, you're going to catch some fish. And it's just a matter of what bait you choose to do it with. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about the post-spawn period, is there's so many different baits that'll get it done. You know, square bills and, you know, flat side baits and topwater baits and swim jigs. It's just an array of different things that you can throw this time of year to catch them. You're liable to catch one up there in 1.5 feet of water, and I mean, I'm sitting in 8 foot of water outside edge of a boat dock, and it just anywhere you can really get around where there's bait, brim beds, fish or garden fry. I mean, there's so many different things going on this time of year, and you just got to keep an open mind when you're fishing post-spawn. Old double silver. That's what I mean. You just got to mix it up, do a lot of different things. Caught that one on a big bite double silver tube. Shad have been spawning around these boat docks, and just a lot of fish that are feeding on shad right now. That's what you gotta figure. You know, one of the biggest things when it comes to flipping a tube, you know, so many people, when you talk about flipping, I mean, it's just, you know, instantly you think, you know, heavy line, heavy equipment, and you know, for me that isn't always the case. I mean, I'm typically always going to flip my tubes on 18 or 20 pound fluorocarbon sunline. I generally am going to use a 3/16 1/4 ounce sinker. I'm always going to use the little Gamakatsu G Finesse hybrid worm hook as my hook. But the rod to me is one of the biggest deals, and I have thrown this 6174 Falcon for so many different things through the years, and to me it is the perfect rod for flipping lighter bait. Just got to take advantage of that shade as long as you possibly can this time of year. Do our best not to lose this one. Boy, they're mean this time of year. Throw little John fish on a Falcon 417. You know, when it comes to cranking, I mean, pretty much any smaller crankbait that I'm going to throw, I'm going to throw on this Falcon 417. I mean, it doesn't really matter even what series you're talking. buku all the way up to the cares. I mean, the 417, in my opinion, for throwing smaller crankbaits, rock crawler, little square bills, little johns, I mean, anything like that, that 417 will get it done. I mean, typically this time of year, I'm going to be throwing, most often I'm going to be throwing 12 to 14 pound test line. I mean, if I'm fishing shallower rock like this, shallower cover, generally 14, but if I'm wanting to get my baits deeper, then I go to 10 or 12, but generally 12 or 14 pound FC crank is the line that I prefer as well. I mean, if you talk about matching the hatch right there, to me, that does it as well as anything at all. I mean, when you look at the green back that shad has and the shiny silver sides, match the hatch. There's something to it, guys. You know, another thing you got to really kind of be aware of is typically first thing in the, there's one right there. Just getting ready to say, typically first thing in the morning, these fish will be right up on the bank, and then as the sun gets up, they'll start pulling off a little bit, and you just got to, you know, figure out what depth to throw at and where to keep your bait. And that's what's so awesome about forward-facing sonar today. I mean, when you've got the ability to look out there and actually see where the bait's at, I mean, that's a nice fish. I mean, that's a fish you'd want on just about any tournament day. I mean, you're looking at a 2 3/4, almost 3 pound fish right there. But it's just a ton of fun fishing around this shad spawn period, post spawn, whatever you want, however you want to look at it. I mean, there's just so many different things that go into play. You can catch them on just so many different baits and just have a ton of fun. You know, like I said, the biggest thing about this time of year, I mean, there's so many different things that can work, and I mean, you got to look at every opportunity you got. You know, I'm fishing down this riprap, and you've got this beautiful laydown laying here. I mean, you don't want to just pass an opportunity up. I mean, I reached down, picked up a flipping bait. I've got a 4-inch big bite battle bug, and just seeing if maybe the opportunity's there to catch a better one on a flipping style bait. Some point today, we're going to pick this bait up and catch some. Not a very big one, but just enough shad activity still that's probably what you want to be doing this time of the morning, is just continuing to chase that shade and taking advantage of those fish that are eating those shad. I was saying earlier, as the day progresses, I mean, generally first thing of the morning, the shad will be right up tight to the bank. I mean, a shad is going to spawn around anything they can get up against. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a boat dock, rock, grass, wood, sawdust. I mean, anything that shad can actually get up against is where they're going to spawn. I mean, a lot of times they'll spawn on clay, gravel, rock. It really doesn't matter. But as the morning progresses, they typically will just get a little bit deeper and deeper, and generally this time of the year when the water temperatures aren't super high, they won't ever go super deep. So as long as you pay attention to what depth the shad have moved to, you can generally stay in touch with those bass you're trying to catch. So you know, one thing about it, I mean, Mother Nature just pretty well takes care of herself when you really think about it. I mean, we're in the post-spawn period for bass, and a lot of people just really kind of look at it from that perspective. You know, okay, it's post-spawn for bass. You know, I'm trying to catch bass that have just spawned, but the reality of it is there's a lot of things that happen just naturally. Like I said, Mother Nature taking care of herself. I mean, you end up getting, as soon as the bass get done spawning, typically you're going to start having some brim that start spawning once that water temperature hits 70, 72 degrees, and you're also going to get a shad spawn. So I mean, the bass have gone through that stressful period where they haven't eaten, they've spawned, and they need to eat, and all of a sudden here come millions of shad up on the bank, and generally you get a big brim influx as well at the same time. So I mean, it's all just Mother Nature taking care of herself, and I mean, that's what just keeps the cycle going, and that's what kind of keeps these fish shallow for at least, you know, I mean, and it depends on how fast it gets hot, but I mean, the post-spawn period can last for, you know, a few weeks up to a month, month and a half, depending on how many or how long the shad spawn and the brim spawn goes on. Good one. That's what we're looking for. That is what we were looking for. Come on, baby. Old double silver tube strikes again, doesn't it? Get on up here. Look at that fish. I mean, you would almost swear that that fish is a pre-spawn fish, but you can see her tail's healed up. She's just up there feeding on brim and shad, like I said. I mean, these fish are going to stay so much shallower than you really expect them to. Really probably up until the time the water temperature gets to be in the upper 70s or low 80s. And I mean, the opportunity to catch some really big bags in the post-spawn just staying shallow is there. And that hybrid worm hook gets it done. I mean, that dude keeps them hooked. You know, when I'm fishing a tube, I mean, like I said earlier, I typically don't ever go over a 1/4 ounce sinker. A lot of guys will flip a 3/8, 5/16, but I just really feel like a 1/4 ounce is the way to go. But I mean, that's almost a 4-pounder. That's the kind we came to catch. You know, so many different things going on here. I mean, you've got rock, you've got some wood in the water, but I mean, the key to where that fish was, and I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but I mean, basically that fish was just laying in the shade created by this walkway, this dock. It wasn't necessarily on that log, but it was just off the log where that shade is. And I mean, that's what I focus on. When I fish post-spawn, shad spawn time of the year or brim spawn, I always really focus on those soft shade lines. And I promise you, you do the same, you're going to catch more of them doing it.